Okay, let's go again, y'all. So far, we've talked about order of operations. They'll tell you simplify this expression, which basically means find the answer. Then you'll get to equations, and they'll say solve the equation, which means find the answer. Real simple, I suppose, but they try to make it hard. There are three things you need to keep in mind when you're trying to solve an equation. Number one is isolate the variable. Now, what I mean, when I say 1 plus 1, these both have very definite value. But if I tell you x plus y, well, they don't. Those are your variables. They could use x, y, z, a, b, c. Sometimes they even use Greek. All right. All this means is there's going to be a number here. You don't know what it is yet. All right. That's all that means. And when you go to solve a variable, ones it will deal with thus far, there will only be one variable to bugger with. So we're going to get rid of this, replace it with a number, and here we have an equation, and you're supposed to solve for x. Always, always, always remember your order of operations. Now, in order to do this, we need to keep in mind the second thing you see here. Anything we do to one side, do the exact same thing to the other side. This keeps it in balance. All right, if we had a seesaw here and we had it set up like this with weights on it and it was perfectly balanced, if we add a weight to this side, we're going to have to add a weight just like it to that side for it to stay in balance. And that's what we're talking about. Anything you do to one side, you do the other. Well, if I added 1,000,000 over here and 1,000,000 over here, the balance between the two things is unchanged. But what have you accomplished? Absolutely nothing. So then you get to number 3 down here. Whatever we do, it has to make the situation better instead of making it blow up or get really weird on you. All right, these are your 3 guidelines. All right, and we'll be using those here in the next few minutes. Now, what I want to talk to you about is this question right here. What is an equation? Well, that is real simple. It's something with an equal sign in it. Isn't that easy? That means whatever you've got piled up over here, it has to have the same value as what you've got piled up over here. That's all that means. All right? No big thing. All right? So let's start off with this expression I think we've already used. 1 plus 1. Okay? Real simple, real straightforward. We've been doing this since the first grade or pre-kinder or something. Except we didn't have kinder and pre-kinder when I was in school, which was a very long time ago. We're going to make it an equation by adding an equal sign. All right? That's real simple. All right? Now, I've tried 3 times to get this video out, and all 3 times it's just not come out the way I wanted it to. So I'm trying again and see what I can come up with. But you won't see it quite like this. They'll put in a variable. The sum of this and this equals something over here. All right? Well, very simply, 1 plus 1 is 2. Therefore, 2 equals x. How easy is that? All right? No one's breaking out in a cold sweat yet, I hope. All right? They won't make it quite that easy on you, I'm afraid. What they'll give you is something like 1 plus x equals 2. This is what you'll be fighting with, all right? So we know that in order to solve the equation, we've got to isolate the variable. That means get it by itself. Okay? Well, how are we going to do that? The only way I know of to do that is we're going to have to subtract 1 from this side. And that's going to give us a nice 0, and anything plus 0 is itself. Okay? That's one of these little relationships you learn. All right? Anything plus 0 is going to be itself. So now we know, oh, sorry, made a mistake. So if I subtract 1 from this side, anything we do to one side, we do to the other. So if we subtract 1 from this side here, we've also got to subtract 1 on this side of the equal sign. Now, when I was in school, they lined this up horizontally, but I think now they're teaching them to pile it up this way, and I kind of like this a little bit better anyway. So we round up with 1. So 1 plus x equals 2 is now 0 plus x equals 1. All right? This is a little better than what we started with. See, whatever we do has to make the situation better. Okay? So we've got, so far so good. 0 plus x is x. Now we can bring this 1 down. X equals 1. All right? Couple of things here I may have already mentioned. I'll mention them again. Write big and clear. All right? Sometimes I skip a line between them, but I didn't this time. All right? Sloppy work or careless work is going to lead you to error. It's always a good idea to go back and check your work. All right? I'm going to rewrite my equation, and I'm going to substitute. I'm going to take this x here that I started with, and I'm going to put my answer in here. And I like to put a little question mark over my equal sign. Does 1 plus 1 equal 2? And we can see that it does. Now, some people say, well, if you've got addition here, use subtraction. Yeah, okay. If you got subtraction, use addition. If you got multiplication, use division. If you got division, use multiplication. That's true, but it's just more junk to remember, okay? This is easier. You're looking to isolate that variable. Anything you do to one side, do to the other, and whatever we do has got to make the situation somewhat better. Now, let's look at another example. Okay. 3 times x equals 12. Very simple equation. Remember, you can also write it 3x. You don't even have to, when it's a variable and a number or numeral, you do not even have to put anything in between them. All right, or you could write it 3x. All these have the same meaning. But what you won't see much after grade school is 3 times x, because now you've got, it looks like 2x is showing there. That's going to be a problem. So you won't be seeing that. All right. So here we are. Rule number 1, or guideline number 1, isolate the variable. Okay, we've got to get rid of this 3. The way we get rid of it is we're going to divide it by 3. And 3 divided by 3 is going to be 1. If we divide this side by 3, we've got to divide this side by 3. Guideline number 2 down here, anything we do to one side, do to the other side. All right? So 3 divided by 3 is 1. So we have 1 times x. 12 divided by 3 is 4. All right? Anything we multiply times 1 is itself. All right? This is one of the main rules you'll find in algebra, at least as far as we're going to be using it. Anything multiplied by 1 is going to be itself. So you don't have to continue writing the 1 down, and x is going to be equal to 4. All right? So now let's check our work. 3 times, we're going to put 4 in here for our x. Does it equal to 12? And 3 and 4 is 12, and we can see, yes, indeed it does. Okay? Very simple, very straightforward when you're solving equations. Now, you're usually not going to find them this simple. There might be 2 or 3 things you have to do to get your equation solved. All right? So let's look at something like x plus 1 quantity. That means everything in here is going to be multiplied by 2. And what's this going to equal? Let's set it equal to 8. All right? So now we've got a multiplication and an addition going on. And if we did not have these parentheses, we would multiply 2 times x and then add 2x to 1, which would become rather problematic. But as you can see, this is the way this is set up. So first thing we're going to have to do, and never ever forget your order of operation. Before we can get in here to the parentheses, inside the parentheses, we've got to get rid of this. We've got to get rid of the 2. The only way to do that is divide it by 2. That'll give us a 1. Remember, anything times 1 is itself. So if I multiply this whole thing, x plus 1 by 1 is still going to be x plus 1. And over here, we've got to divide 8 by 2 as well, because anything we do to one side of the equation, over here on the other side of the equation, we've got to do the same thing. That keeps the value the same. So now we're stuck with 1 times x plus 1 is going to equal 4. Now, most of the time you won't be using this step with the 1 in there. And as you get more and more comfortable with this, you'll leave out certain steps, and it won't be such a problem. So let's just rewrite this. Without that, we don't need, without the 1 times 1, we don't need the parentheses anymore. And now we've got x plus 1 equal 4. Our x is not isolated yet. We did the same thing to both sides, and it did so far make the situation somewhat better. So now we're going to have to subtract 1 from both sides. It's going to get too busy. Hang on a second. Let me get rid of that. Just subtract 1 from both sides. I've subtracted 1 from over here, and now I'm subtracting 1 from over here. Okay? This will give me x plus 0, and this will give me 3. All right? 4 minus 1 is 3. And you see the very first one on doing adding numbers in your head, 3 plus 1 is going to give us 4. So I know I've got that right, see? And anything I add to 0 is itself. X, therefore, is going to be equal to 3. All right? Very simple and straightforward. Do it just the way I've shown you. Now you'll be able to, sooner or later, you'll be able to leave out these 2 steps. And it's not a bad idea to leave them out, because every time you write this down, it increases your chances of making an error. Let's check what we've done. 2 times x plus 1 equals 2, does it, 8 equals 8. So let's take this and substitute our answer down here, okay, for this x. I'm saying x is equal to 3. X is the same value as 3, so let's chunk it in there. Does it equal 8? All right, so now we've gotten rid of all the variables. Now we have to use our rule, whatever's in the parentheses first. This is going to be a 4. 3 plus 1 is 4. And does 4 times 2 equal 8? And we see, yes, indeed it does. So we know now that our equation has checked. Okay? Very simple. Now let's go use one with a division problem. X plus 1. How about that now? X plus 1, the quantity of x plus 1, when I divide that times, by 2 rather, if I divide it by 2, will equal 2. So, what we're going to do here, I'm going to enclose this parentheses for clarity, and I'm going to multiply this whole thing times 2. Now, in division, you can rewrite this thusly without changing its value. Okay? Oops, and I'm almost off the page there. So, 2 divided by 2 is 1. Anything divided by itself is 1 times x plus 1 equals 2. All right. Since anything times 1 is itself, we can rewrite this. Once again, you probably won't need to put in this step. I'm just putting it in for clarity right now. X plus 1 is 2. Did we do the same thing to both sides? Not yet, did we? Okay, what did we do? You see what I'm saying? We multiplied this side by 2. Now we've got to multiply this side by 2. All right? And let's just go ahead and do it right here. All right? So, always remember to do this step right. Whatever you do here, you've got to do over here. All right? Keep from making all sorts of errors. Now, the x still isn't isolated, so what we're going to have to do now is subtract 1 from both sides. All right, this gives us x plus 0 equals 3. All right, I'm almost out of paper here. Anything plus 0 remains unchanged. It's itself. X equals 3. So now we've got x equaling 3. We have solved the equation. But let's go back up here to where we first started and check our work. All right? Because lots of times little errors are going to be creeping in. And get your algebra book out and work as many of these problems as you can find. Any sort of practice like this is going to make it easier over time, okay? If the ones in your book are too hard, you feel, well, find an easier book, a simpler book. Or make up your own like you see me doing, okay? So, I'm working with x plus 1 divided by 2 equals 2. All right? The stuff on this side is going to have the same value as the stuff on this side. All right? But now I'm going to take the 3 that I just found for x, and I'm going to plug it in up here for my x, okay? So plug your 3 in there, plus 1 divided by 2 equals 2. Now that pesky variable is gone. Now, remember, this is treated just like a parentheses, so I can't divide 3 by 2 and then add that to 1. No, you cannot do that. I've got to add 3 to 1 first. 3 plus 1 is 4, divided by 2. Oh, I forgot to put this in here. Does it equal 2? 4 divided by 2 is 2, and we see, yes, indeed, 2 does equal to 2. All right? For those of you who are having a lot of trouble with math, you can't help your children with their homework, or you're just dying in math class, what we've covered so far is some very, very simple basics. Now, I plan to rewrite the math book, the little primer I wrote some years ago, and put it up on my website so you can download it. So let's go see if this thing is going to be right this time.